I recently stumbled across a video of Tucker Carlson interviewing Johann Hari that happened on the 20th of May. And when I finished watching that video, I was filled with the fury of 1,000 suns. I couldn't believe what I heard. And now I have some rage and wrath I need to express, and I'm not exactly going to be nice about it. I will not have this blatant disrespect of the internet community and the gaming community go unanswered. I will play some clips from this segment, and I will thoroughly respond to said remarks.
Thanks to cell phones and social media, it's easier than ever to talk to people all over the world whenever you want to, obviously, but it's not working exactly as you would expect. Today's teenagers are the loneliest generation in American history. In 2017, for example, teens met with friends 68 fewer times than they did in 1990.
I guess you can see where this is going.
Children have fewer friends, but more anxiety. They have fewer dates, but more depression. Suicide rates are rising. So what is causing all this? We put that question to one of the smartest people we know, Johann Hari, author of the book Lost Connections, Why You're Depressed and How to Find Hope. Here's what he said. For
context, this guy, Hari, is a writer and a journalist who was the subject of a plagiarism scandal in 2011 where he used quotes from interviewees and presented them as if he interviewed them himself. And he also anonymously edited Wikipedia pages of a number of his critics in order to paint them in a negative light. Just bear in mind that this guy is not a very credible source.
This is one of those results that's the opposite of what was predicted, maybe opposite of what you would have expected. Why is this happening?
I wanted to think about this a lot. So for my book, Lost Connections, I went to the first ever internet rehab center in the world.
Oh boy, an internet rehab center. Designed by people who think the internet is just like heroin, and you need to treat it as such. I feel like those who push internet addiction onto people as a real thing just don't like the idea that people who use the internet as an escape, because life is not always nice to us, and this is just another form of control and pushing people to behave a certain way.
It's just outside Spokane in Washington. I remember when I arrived feeling really annoyed. I stepped out of the car and feeling really annoyed I couldn't check my cell phone. It wasn't working. And I was like, oh, right, you're in the right place. So it's a really fascinating place. And I remember spending a lot of time there. They get a huge range of people in this internet rehab center, but they disproportionately get young men who've become obsessed with these multiplayer role-player games like World of Warcraft.
Why are you specifically stating multiplayer role-playing games? That's just one genre. Why not attack the FPS games as well, or Oh, I get it. You're attacking the community side of video games. You're going on about how the communities in gaming are fake. They're not real. The people you meet aren't real. The connections you make are fake and artificial, and you should engage more outside, be more social, that most of us are not good at. Most of us are not good at that. Most of us in the gaming community aren't good at socializing, which is where we go and communicate with others online through the internet. And even if we do go out and socialize, it's going to be with people who are part of the internet and gaming community, not with people we don't know. This realization makes me even more furious, and you all listening to this should too.
I remember talking to the woman who runs this center, Dr. Hilary Cash.
Of course it is. Of course it's a woman. Of course it is. Of course it is. Why not? Why not? Female gamers already feel ostracized in the gaming community and nerd culture when it comes to the fact that most of us in the community are male. If he said it was a male, this wouldn't be a problem for me, but because this is a woman, it hurts female gamers even more, and it continues the stereotype that only males are gamers. When people bash the gaming community, they bash all of us, not just one part. This does not mean I support the toxic mentality that some in our community display towards us male gamers as being sexist or misogynistic. It is ridiculous, self-absorbed, and it really hurts the gaming community, and it prevents us from uniting, and it only leads to unrest within the community. Those who called us sexist during Gamergate and Anita Sarkeesian's artificial lies against our culture only divide us and make it harder to defend against those who really wish to see our culture disappear. It just frustrates me that it is always a woman that pushes these things against the gaming community, whether it is divorce, sexism, or otherwise.
And her saying to me, you've got to ask yourself, what are these young men getting out of these games? They're getting the things they used to get from the culture, but they no longer get. They get a sense of a tribe. They get a sense of an identity. They get a sense they're good at something.
Exactly! Exactly! The gaming community is our tribe. It's our culture. It's who we are and who we choose to be. Just because we are not the most sociable of people doesn't mean we must abandon our communities that gave us hope and a sense of belonging in the first place in order to be something we are not, just to appease those who don't like us not socializing in the quote-unquote natural way.
They get a sense they're actually roaming around because American kids now barely leave the house. But what they're getting really is a kind of parody of those things.
A parody? A parody! A community is a community. There is no if or but. It is what it is. There is no changing that, no matter how much you want to disbelieve it.
The more time I spent there talking to people who become completely obsessed with social media or video games, and the more I spoke to the social scientists who study this, I began to realize I think the connection between social media and social life is a bit like the connection between pornography and sex.
Oh my god! Oh my god! You're pulling that card? You're pulling the porn card. Let me guess. You're invoking the porn card because it will give the sentiment to your audience that video games are just like porn, which makes them immoral, and in part the community is affiliated with them as well. If video games are porn, then so is movies, so is television, so is books, so is poetry, so is pictures. Treat them all the same. Don't specifically target one because you don't like them. And it's also really damn insulting to those who are addicted to porn. Porn can be really devastating to someone's life. There are a multitude of stories on that. And since we are on the topic of addiction, addiction is not inherently something that you spend many hours on. Let's say someone plays video games for 10 hours every day, okay? Picture that in your head. Now, replace plays video games with watching sports instead, or reads books, for another example. Is there really that much of a difference? Is there? Is there really? People like to engage in their hobbies, and sometimes that hobby consists of many hours, and that doesn't mean we are addicted. A true example of someone addicted is someone who misses out on their child's birthday or their child's birth, or because they were addicted to drugs. Someone who sells their child to get said drugs. Someone who sells themselves to get said drugs, too. That's what addiction really is, doing whatever is necessary to get what they are addicted to. Spending multiple hours playing games or surfing the internet is not that. And besides, we don't always spend our time playing them. If we are in a game and it's laggy, full of bugs, or just unbalanced, we'll get tired and do something else, just as watch a movie on television. You don't do that. You don't do that when you need cocaine up your nose to fill a withdrawal. You are completely consumed by said addiction, something that gaming does not cause. You're not going to go to the streets and find some dealer who's going to be selling season passes or a Nintendo Switch to fill that quote-unquote fix. And for you parents out there concerned about your child playing video games, or if he or she doesn't care about their school or something else like that, it's not because they are addicted to gaming or the internet. More likely, excessive gaming or being on the internet for a long time is a symptom of something else that's bothering the individual. They're being used as a rod to cope with whatever they are dealing with. I am dumbfounded is sincerely dumbfounded that psychiatrists haven't picked up on this. This entire mentality of how gamers and people who use the internet as a lot are as addicted as people are addicted to porn or crack is just insulting to those who are truly addicted to porn or crack. And these people with this mentality are just trying to simplify things to get things they don't like put in a bad light with the general public. Just a bunch of fabricated nonsense.
I'm not totally against pornography, but if your entire sex life consisted of looking at pornography, you'd be going around irritated and frustrated the whole time, because that's not what we evolved for. We didn't evolve to look at screens for sex, and we didn't evolve to interact through screens. We evolved to interact face to face. And when you have a huge decline in that, that leads to a big increase in depression and anxiety. It's partly a symptom, right? Actually, loneliness had been supercharged already before the internet arrived. Part of what happens is the internet arrives and it looks a lot like the things we've lost, right? You've lost friends, well, here's some Facebook friends. You've lost status in the economy, here's some status updates. But it's not the thing we've lost. It's not filling the hole there.
What fresh set of glue are you sniffing? Let's see here. There are about 1.2 million subreddits. The gaming community has its own YouTube platform. Twitter is full of people who communicate with each other over similar subjects, and there are millions of websites where people can communicate with each other over things and share with each other to have a sense of belonging. I ask again, what fresh set of glue are you sniffing? Because if you truly understand the internet, gaming, and the rest, you wouldn't be making these outrageous claims. Teenagers have never been more connected to one another, and it's just that not all of us are sociable. And you talk about going out to socialize. And do what? What do you want us to do exactly? There's only so much one can do socially until they get bored.
Why? We're too busy living life to the fullest. Come on, let's go.
I'm sick of life.
Yeah, my dogs are barking. But I thought we were having fun.
We were, but now it might be nice to watch other people have fun. Or get killed. You know, whatever's on.
You make the conclusion that because we don't go outside or we don't openly participate in social events, we are lonely and depressed. Even if we are lonely and depressed, it's not because of the internet or gaming. It's because of other reasons, such as, I don't know, I've never been depressed. But what I do know is that to blame the internet or gaming for loneliness and depression is a poor man's way of saying get out more. And again, I ask, to do what? To do what? We are not alone on the internet. We're not alone in gaming. We have our communities where we can share, where we can communicate with each other, where we can develop friendships with each other and respect each other. Our communities are in the millions, if not billions. For those who are depressed and lonely in our communities, gaming and the internet is their lifeline. You try and take that away and force people to go out socially and be someone they are not, they are one bad step away from ending it all, and you become responsible for taking that away because you think you're so smart and intelligent on how society and men need to behave and act.
But weirdly, nobody had scientifically investigated this until an incredible man I got to know called Professor Tim Kasser. And he discovered two really important things. Firstly, the more you think life is about money and status and showing off, the things that social media trains you to do, the things advertising trains you to do, the more likely you are to become depressed and anxious. And secondly, as a society, we have become much more driven by these junk values over time. There's been a really big increase. But there's also really hopeful things there. Professor Kasser showed relatively small interventions can really help. So he did a program where you just get teenagers and their parents to meet in a group once every couple of weeks for 4 months to just talk about moments they have actually found meaningful in their lives, right? Not buying Nike sneakers, not how many likes they got on Instagram, but meaningful moments. And they keep checking in to show, okay, how can we build more of our lives about seeking those meaningful things and less about all this junk that culture is constantly pumping us full of?
Okay, what's meaningful to you then, huh? What's meaningful that you would deem the gaming and internet community not it? What exactly are you looking for here? What is meaningful? Everyone's sense of meaningful is different with everyone. Don't try and force yours onto others.
And just doing that led to a really significant shift in people's values. These values that are causing so much depression and anxiety.
Just
so
having one
a lot we can
authentic conversation. Yeah. I'm not surprised by that, but it's amazing that you're one of the very few people I ever hear say that out loud. Johann Hari, it's always an honor to have you on the show.
Totally my pleasure, Tucker. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Now, let me finish by saying this. Some of us are introverts. Some of us have a hard time going out. Some of us are very uncomfortable in social situations like parties or events. Not everyone is a high school jock or the son of a billionaire who has or goes to parties every month. Not everyone is capable of engaging with others. Some of us prefer to be alone. Some of us prefer to not go out in general. And it's not because the internet or gaming is mind controlling us to stay inside and not to socialize. No, it's just a reflection of our personalities and who we are. This is who we are. We've accepted that for a long time, that we are the nerds, we are the geeks, we are the outcasts who will get picked on if we don't play along or stay out of the way. And nothing is going to change that. Just because we don't act like the jocks or the popular kids or the preppy kids doesn't mean we are depressed and lonely. Games and the internet brings us together. They don't separate us. They never have. These opinions of us and our communities not being real, being fake, and that we should go outside more is the result of insecurities and ignorance about the communities in itself, propped up by a bunch of lies fed by statists who want to control the government and how people act and behave. These two men here, right here, Carlson and Hari, are statists. And if these statists want to diminish the role of our communities, label them as fake, and ultimately dissolve them, then they are going to have to go through immense measures doing so. Because we will not allow our communities to go quietly into the night. We will not have our communities shamed and dissolved because a bunch of insecure statists say otherwise.